Welcome in, welcome in. IRNT. Oof. What a move, what a move. Keith, yeah, Tom is sideline. It's your Drake. What's going on, OPAD? I saw Sig talking about OPAD. I'll take a look at it actually. We'll get there. So the QQQ calls, amazing. I mean, that was literally the highlight of the day. Was that Fortuna alert that went off today? Highlight of the day. That was just amazing timing. Roku gonna moon tomorrow? Of course Roku's gonna moon tomorrow. I'm in it, of course. I'm not gonna lie, I'm salty about CRM though. It is what it is. But I'll get there. CRM kind of did me a little dirty on it, but it's alright. It's alright. I can take it. We'll see what happens. Futures are a little flat. Nasdaq's trying to push. We'll see what Nasdaq does. I actually have high hopes for Nasdaq to continue, so we'll see what it does. Probably a few people gathering in here. We'll see. Yeah, Tesla puts it in pay. I know that was kind of a bummer. I do expect to see Tesla back under 750 though before the week is over. I actually got 755s in the money, so I am still holding those. It's down just a little bit. I did average down to cut my loss, and then I kind of took back some of that of what I lost. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens to it tomorrow. Palantir. I know that Tom was talking about Palantir, and I think Avery was also mentioning about it too. I don't know if either one of them have a position. I think Tom is actually holding shares on Palantir, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he actually has calls on it. So he's just holding shares, which I think is actually a better way to pay Palantir because it's a little bit of a slow mover. Unless you're in the money calls, it's a little bit more difficult. So I do think that shares are a little more the better way to play that. And if it does squeeze, then of course that'll actually will play. So we'll see. Roku, I'm bullish, man. Come on. Of course I'm bullish. I actually have calls on Roku. I do have, I think it's the 320s if I'm not mistaken, on Roku weeklies. I'll pull up the chart soon. We'll get there. Uh, Pretty much looking at futures here though to get started. We actually saw, remember, I said this candle was going to be very important. We ended up breaking this trend that we had on the ascending channel. We ended up entering right back into the channel. And so I'm expecting us to push. I do think that we're going to get back into the channel. We'll see if it ends up getting back over to pushing as high as 451. I think that's the level that's really key for me, is pushing up to 451. If we get past 451 on SPY, then that's a very big problem. I don't think it actually is going to get past 451 though. So we could see this end up pushing up here. If I get a little path, likely get a little push up here, and then we could end up dropping right into FOMC starting next week. That's what I will be looking at as far as futures there. Now, NASDAQ, a little bit of a different picture. Getting down to the 4 hour. Let's expand this just a bit. So as you saw, we had broken down from the sideways channel that we had. We ended up retesting it once, retesting it twice, and now we're approaching that resistance level again. So as you see, I had that number outlined on NASDAQ there, 15,523. That's the key level for me because if we do get over that 15,523, then we re-enter into this channel, and then the resistance that I'm looking at is on this broadening descending wedge. And so we're going to be looking at close enough to 15,600 within that range. We're looking at pushing to that resistance level, and that's when we're going to see whether we end up breaking down or if we end up pushing higher again with SPY getting over 451. Then I would expect this resistance to break. If SPY holds under that 451 level as we continue to push higher, then I expect us to reject on that resistance level, and we'll see that next leg down. So that's the picture that I'm painting right now. So as you would see, then tomorrow we're likely going to be bullish. Those QQQ Fortuna signals that went off today was just beautiful. That was just an amazing picture. As you saw, I think Dan in our premium chat, he actually led with it. He entered, I think, probably before anyone did. And actually what he ended up doing was, as we continued to drop, because there was a little bit of a pullback after the signal went out, he ended up averaging down. And that's what you technically you try to do that sometimes in different scenarios. And it depends, especially on the ticker that you're doing it with. He did it, of course, with Fortuna, Super Fortuna going off. So completely understandable. I mean, a lot of people try to go all in on Super Fortuna. I would caution about that. That's not something that you want to do. Although it is highly, the win rate on it is highly, probable of over, I want to say over that 85% threshold. Just be cautious about that. You don't want to go all in. If those QQQs would have failed today, yeah, it would have been pretty bad. But yeah, he did end up averaging down, and as you see, we pushed beautifully. So we'll look to see the continuation on Nasdaq tomorrow because I think that is going to lead the way tomorrow. So that'll be key. Going over really quickly, let's go over some names real quick on major flow because there were some beautiful flow alerts that actually went out today. Starting off the day was Microsoft. Microsoft was one that we were a little skeptic on it, and actually, as you see, Avery had actually commented on it this morning. So if I go now to the 1 minute, so we pretty much get the big picture of the overall entire day. That signal went off right around this area here. When that gap up, it was around 9:36 when that alert went off. It was right around the 305, close enough to 305 level that we end, probably about a nickel short of that. So if you ended up getting up there, that didn't pay. Now, if you waited a bit and you would have actually entered a down here, close enough to that 304, 303, 304 level, then you would have likely ended up getting right into this push here if you got in the money calls. And that's what I would have actually expected, especially with that gap that you have. I would have been a little skeptic on that trigger on those rapids for Microsoft that went out so early. And that's what you want to be mindful of when you, especially when you gap up so much and one of those rapid flow alerts go off so early in the day at 9:36 in the morning. You kind of want to step back just a minute or two to see, okay, are we holding a certain level? Is there a massive gap? Is there overhead resistance? Just before you just blindly enter. That's what you really want to pay attention to. And so as you see the gap on Microsoft here, I would have liked to see an entry below entering that gap here. Below that 303.26, that would have been a perfect entry for me. And as you see, if you entered right into the zone right here, below that 303.26, you would have got that push with an in the money call, and that would have been a beautiful scalp, about 10 to 15% on that rapid. So that was one that went off this morning. That was a quick one. Let's see. There was an adder. I know that adder was fading for most of the day. That was a quick scalp. It was about 10%. Not nothing that I need to really look at for that one. Netflix was a beautiful one, actually. I know that Avery was actually looking at Netflix right around lunchtime, between 12 to 1. He was looking at Netflix. If I pull up the chart on Netflix, that was a beautiful one. Let's see where Netflix actually triggered. Let's see. Netflix triggered at 576.18 at 10:18 in the morning. So 10:18 in the morning, we're looking right around just about this candle right here on this one. So if you would have saw Netflix here when we actually triggered that signal, it was a beautiful downtrend that you completed. You could say this is a descending channel, falling wedge, depending how you're looking at it. And you would have got a beautiful move from 576 all the way up to 579. So that was an easy up to 20%, depending how low you ended up getting in on that alert. That was a beautiful 15 to 20% that you got. So that's more than the average, I want to say 10 to 15% that we look at. But that was a beautiful one. And then Avery was actually looking at it right around this area here when we actually saw this curl to make a nice little cup right here. Once we got that cup and we ended up retesting, that's when I know Avery was looking at it. I should have took the entry with him today. I just didn't take it. But that was a beautiful little pop there from 580 to 583 and change. I know he was looking for 585. I think it'll probably get there tomorrow. We'll see that push. Actually, no, it did get there. It got close enough. 584.57-ish, 584.60. So we'll probably see a continuation on this tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised to see this get right over that 585 and continue into 5. I think there was a level that I was looking at, if I'm not mistaken. If I actually expand it, there is a beautiful gap right here. So this will be in play tomorrow. So that's a early heads up there tomorrow. That gap will be in play, that 587. So we'll see a nice continuation on that Netflix play tomorrow. Let's see. Other than that, we had some nice flow. I know that there was a golden sweep that came out on Twitter. I know the guys were all over that. Julian was on it. Dapper was on it. That was a beautiful play on Twitter. It's just that it didn't. I don't see the. I don't think there was a continuation on Twitter after that literally went off. But actually, no. Yeah, there was. It ended up at the high of the day, breaking above the high of the day. That was a beautiful play. Let's see when it actually triggered. Triggered at 11:09 in the morning at 60:24. So 11:09 in the morning that triggered. You had more than enough time to make a play on this. Way more than enough time. From around that 60 range, this popped right up to that 61. If you got a beautiful at the money or in the money call, that paid beautifully. So that was easy money on that play. That was a continuous uptrend. Level threes on Tesla. Uh, if you actually see the expiration is what key. So always pay attention to the expiration also. They're buying for October 8th. And there's a lot of puts going out for October 8th, October 15th expiration. So that was one. And I think Avery was also mentioning Tesla uptrend. I tried to get into puts for at the 750 level. I didn't go out for October. I went out for weeklies. I got burned just a little bit on it. So this didn't work out too well if you were trying to go for short term. But I understand why they're going out to October because they are expecting some downside between now and that time, and especially with FOMC coming in next week. Rapid flows on Apple. I'm not going to look at this one necessarily, but this one, I know that this one had a good 10 to 15% scalp on this one. CCJ, everyone was all over this one. Dapper was on this. Julian was on this. I believe even Avery was mentioning about it, and Tom. So they were all over CCJ. It was a beautiful move. You had a good opportunity to make a nice, clean 20%, if I'm not mistaken, on CCJ. The alert went off somewhere right around this area. You got a beautiful move right up to 25. So if that was almost a dollar move that you got, I want to say close enough to about 60 to 70 cent move. So again, that would have been an in the money call. If you got an in the money call on that, that was just a beautiful rapid to play, and you would have made some quick, easy 15% to 20% there. Facebook, uh, let's see, those are weeklies, 330s, but they're really deep in the money. So I would have had to really expand that chart to see why they went so deep into the money, but not something I really would have paid too much attention to. And being as a level three, it's an average alert. I think that covers pretty much the major flow. Other than that, I know that a few of you want to see some of the squeeze plays. We'll look at IRNT first. Let's look at that one. This thing is just a beauty right now. Um, I actually tweeted out, I was like, is it going to 50? I know that SIG is pretty high on it. Do I see this really getting to 50? Ugh. I don't know how it necessarily gets there. We'll see exactly how that works out. But if I'm doing a fib here, going down, oof, it could happen. It definitely could happen. I can see it getting there. I do want to see it get over this 34 level. I think that will be a key level for me. That 34 to 37. Yeah, 37.45 would be more key. That 1.618 level would be key. If it gets over that 37, which actually I think it is after hours, it's actually up that to that level. I think someone know what IRNT is actually at right now? Let's actually take a look at it real quick. I'm gonna go into chat real quick to see what it actually closed at real quick. Let me see. What level are we at on IRNT? I held shares, but I actually sold it a little early. So we're actually at 41. Wow, we blew past that 37. I didn't even realize that. That's interesting. 41. Okay, so we blew past that 1.618 level. Now we're approaching that 42, 32. Oof. Yeah, that's going to really squeeze. Over that 45.79 level, that's going to be damage. And we'll likely see that 50 level come in really quickly. 50.21 will be that level. So I like that play. Once over we get over that 50 level, then that I don't know where that's gonna go. Because 50 would be the top here that we're looking at, that Sig's looking at, that Tom is probably gonna be looking at. But over that 50 level, triple digits wouldn't be out of the picture. I would say that much. So be a little careful there. I know that the puts usually pay once you end up getting it, timing it right. But that's the hard part with these gamma squeezes, is that if you get caught on the wrong end of that, it's not gonna be so nice. I did call out SPRT. I actually told Thomas and Tamakazi when it was around that 22 level. I told them that it was going down to 14. It did go down to 14. Actually, surprisingly though, I didn't short it, which I should have. So that was my fault. But if you time them right, it ends up usually paying out beautifully, just as much as it goes up. This one, if you got in shares after hours, I think that was the best way that you could have played this. That was a beautiful way if you end up getting shares. And that's the thing with gamma squeezes, that the shares aren't as volatile. You don't have to worry about data out of the money. Uh, that's really one of the issues there. And then with shares, you can actually sell after hours or before market hours if necessary. And that's what I actually like. So I would rather, like, I actually bought IRNT near after close, a few minutes after close, when I saw it starting to pop, and Tamakaze actually brought it to my attention. I got in, but I got out pretty early. So I didn't even look back at it to see what it closed at. But I'll look at it tomorrow morning and we'll see where we are. If we get over that level, I want to say 45, then I will be looking into shares to get to that 50 level and see if it rejects it or not. Otherwise, that will be a monster move over that 50 level. That will be a big picture, macro perspective. If it gets over 50, which I don't necessarily think it will, but I'll get shares at 45. If it pushes that 45, I'll get shares and I'll hold it to 50 and see what it does at the 50 mark, and I'll decide whether to actually sell out or not. Almost picked up 45 calls. I I mean, it's this is where, I mean, if you're getting out of the money calls, it is a gamble. This is like you're buying a lottery ticket. That's really how it is. You have to think about these gamma squeezes like that. So don't actually try to put too much money in that you're not willing to lose with these gamma squeezes. Be very careful with that. What was the other name that we were looking at? Someone did mention another name, another squeeze that there was. Let me see what that was. OPAD was the name. Let's take a look at OPAD. See what OPAD's doing. That's a nice rounding bottom. I do like that rounding bottom. The level that I'm looking at is 1337. Right around that mark, then this will get a lot more interesting over that 1337 on OPAD. That's the mark that I'm looking at. If you break over that, then I would look to actually getting a nice little entry there. Again, small position. If you're looking for that gamma squeeze type play, be very careful. Enter with something that you're willing to lose, because obviously this could end up, getting shorted or fall off a roof pretty much at any point in time. So just be careful with those again, just so I caution you guys. But over that 13, let's see what that level was. Right about around that 1335 level will be where I see this end up curling right up to a cup, and we'll see that high of 1594. Over that 1594, this gets interesting, and then we'll evaluate at that point in time once we get over that resistance level, that all-time high, if we get there. It's at 14 right now. Thanks for that heads up, by the way. So you're about $1 shy, more or less, from breaking that high. Oof. I see that fib retracement then. See the extension here that we're looking at. Wow, wicked right up to the 618. That's amazing. Right up to the 618. That will put it at the 1 mark if we get to that high. Over that, 20 doesn't look that bad. To get to that 1.618 mark, I do like that number right there. To get to 2043, I wouldn't mind that. 14 to 28 today. I wouldn't mind seeing this actually happen. I can see this right back at that $20 mark. So we'll see how that one does tomorrow. Other than that, I know that someone mentioned PLTR. I'll take a quick look at it. I don't know when I actually created this wedge because I definitely didn't look at it today. But right up to this resistance level is where I would be looking at, close enough to that 20 mid 27 mark. Will be where I will be looking at it. Let's see what Palantir is after hours. Let me see what the mark is. It's at 27.31 that it closed at after hours. So you're close enough to that 20 mid 27 level, around 27.53. I would say tomorrow will be that level where you'll see it end up pushing up. Once it gets over that level, then let's expand this out and see what we're looking at here. So yeah, you do have a beautiful little resistance right here, right around that mark of 27.54. Let's see if that's around the case. Yeah, 27.54 would be that line in the sand where we end up getting a nice breakout in looking for that gap to test that gap, or we end up rejecting it coming right back down. So 27.54 would be that key level on Palantir. That's the number that you want to keep in your head. If we get over that 27.54, then again, this little gap fill right here is completely in play. And that's when I think I heard Avery and Tom mentioning $30. That would be the mark. All right. Other than that, I think that pretty much wraps up tonight. Going over flow. Again, Nasdaq is really going to be on watch tomorrow. We'll see the continuation of Super Fortuna tomorrow. Other than that, kind of wraps up tonight. We'll see what moves are going to be made tomorrow. Real quick before I end, small account. Of course, you guys knew that I took Moderna calls. Actually, not calls. I took Moderna puts at the top today. I'll pull up that chart for you guys real quick. Give you a real quick rundown on my small account. Let me get down to the 15 minute. It was a beautiful head and shoulders I was watching. You have a left shoulder here, head, right shoulder. I ended up taking puts right around the top here, close enough to that 439, between 439 and 440. I ended up getting puts. I held down all the way to the 422 mark. And the problem was that I should have took profits there. I was up as much as 70%. My small account went up to like 1600 and change. Now, I did get a little greedy. I was expecting it to go right down to the neckline. That didn't end up happening. So, because I didn't get down to the neckline, ended up popping. We saw a little bit of flow come in. And so 433 was that gray area in the sand for me. Once I saw it over that 433 level, I pretty much knew to get out. So I took whatever little profit that I ended up having and I got out of that. Then I ended up also having the CRM calls was just I could have ended up getting so much more out of that. It didn't play out the way that I wanted it to. It is what it is. I know that I was pretty much at a key level on my small account though when it ended up dropping this morning. Right around here, if we're looking at into open, ended up dropping up almost about $1 that ended up dropping. At that point in time, my account was pretty much at a key level. So that's why I ended up selling out those Salesforce. I had to kind of stick to my stop loss. I think it was around a 12 or close enough, somewhere between 12 to 15% stop loss when I ended up cutting that position. So I tried to stick to the stop loss and being at a key level on the account. And then you ended up getting this random spike. I ended up trying to get in close enough to the top. It didn't work out. I ended up seeing, I expected a better follow through. It didn't happen. I actually got in right around 255 on this pullback. And I ended up getting out right around close enough to break even, and so that didn't work out. And then what would you know? It actually ended up pulling back, and then we ended up seeing a nice continuation. So that was just some random spike we saw from what 253 to 256. It was about a $2 move from where it was, and it was just so random. And then actually we also had the major flow alert that actually went off also. The technical alert breakout. I was like, are you serious right now? So I ended up double dipping. I was like, ugh. So that didn't work out. But other than that, Moderna played out pretty nice. I got some nice profits, so that held my account up beautifully around that $1,300 mark. And then the Roku calls, I'll give you a quick chart on that before we wrap up. Let me pull out probably to the 30-minute. Yeah, 30 minutes, fine. Right into this beautiful falling wedge right here. I had to take this entry. I got my entry right around on that on that resistance line. So it was a pretty nice entry that I got there, and we'll see the continuation tomorrow. But let's see what my target was. Right around that 432 was it will be my target. Now, are we gonna get up that high? We'll see. I know that a lot of flow is coming in for 325, so I'll take 325. I'll probably end up cutting some of my contracts at 325 if we get up to that level and to lock in profits. And maybe a runner if we get over 325. I'll leave some runners there to get that nice push. But other than that, uh, big picture on Roku though, it is still bearish. Pretty much looks like Zoom. It's a double top formation on the daily. That does not look too beautiful. If you compare that daily on Roku to Zoom, which is pretty much you're looking at the same scenario. So it's pretty much a bounce. So it's not a long-term position. Definitely not going to be holding beyond this week. It is a weekly because the downtrend is still defined. It's going to continue to go down on that double top. But that actually wraps up today's daily recap. Other than that, we'll see what tomorrow brings. Again, we'll see what Nasdaq does. Should see a nice continuation off of Fortuna. We're holding up nicely right now. But other than that, wow. Agree. I'll probably post a chart in premium chat for you. But other than that, that kind of wraps up tonight, guys. You guys have a good night. Tomorrow's gonna be a new day. We'll see what tomorrow brings for us, and hopefully we have some nice tendies tomorrow. All right, guys. Other than that, you guys have a good night. We'll see you guys tomorrow, bright and early on live.